Welcome to the Awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit simoglobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords. Empower. The name says it all. Connecting e-commerce entrepreneurs with great people, ideas, systems, and the services needed to stay business dynamic and to grow. Empowery is a network, a cooperative venture of tools and resources to make you better at what you do, because we love what you do. We are you. Visit empowery.com to learn more.
You're listening to episode number 105 of the Awesomers.com podcast series, and today is part 2 of the Back Talk Live episode, where we dive in live and talk about some news items, which we did mostly in part 1 of our episode, although we did have a question pop in, and we talked, some of that question talked about LTL freight and how to deal with some of the shipping issues when you have to schedule shipments with Amazon.com. That can be a complex process. And so I don't want people to be discouraged by it. It just takes a little time to manage and a little getting used to. And I give a couple resources here in part 2 of that people may want to take a look at. So in addition to news in this Back Talk Live part 2 episode, we also took another quick run at a couple of the questions that were coming in live. So I hope you guys find these instructive. We had a fair number of live listeners this past time that were able to give some nice feedback and some back and forth, which is always nice. So go ahead and take a listen. This is part 2 of our 2-part series. Okay, we're back. Hello again to you, Alex. Thanks for the question, Tony. Before we broke at our last session there, we were talking about different marketplaces. The fact that I can tell you that without competition, Amazon has really no reason to lower our prices. Without us being able to speak in one voice, Amazon has no reason to listen to any one of us, because they will just simply discard whatever we have to say. And so I want you guys to know, the more that you find opportunities on these other marketplaces, and I'm not saying you spend 80% of your time on another marketplace to get 10% of your sales, but I am saying try to lean into it like there's opportunity. And as I was just saying, I know we've had a few new folks join us. There is a way that you can put product in. Hi, Maria. There's a way to put product into the Walmart or eBay system so that you get the fast delivery badges. And when you get those badges, your product moves up in search results, just like it does with FBA. And to do that, we have a 3PL that you can partner up with, and that deal should be done sometime later on this year. So my whole point is you can accomplish the mission. And we have case studies of people who were able to, they were selling nothing on Walmart before, and they switched to this fulfillment methodology, and they started selling 10, 20, 30, 40 units a day. So it is something substantial. It is something that has a lot of merit to it. All right, so I'm going to back up again and just review. I've talked about Rakuten. They are not as strong in the U.S., although they bought a company called Buy.com many years ago, and then they rebranded. They have a number of different global enterprises. They are the number 1 seller marketplace in Japan. If you sell in Japan on Amazon and you're not selling on Rakuten, you're missing the largest marketplace there. Rakuten also owns places around the world, including substantial holdings in Europe. There are so many marketplaces out there. If you guys trade in Europe, there are many effective ways to trade on a dozen, 2 dozen, even 3 dozen marketplaces in Europe. Okay, Tony's coming back with another follow-up to his question here. Let me take a look. Okay, so basically says they don't have any partnership carriers coming from the LTL, and so they use the companies who are the cheapest and can get us an appointment, but they never get us regular business hours these days. Yeah. So first of all, during Q4, it's a tough time to get appointments, Tony, as you might imagine. It's less predictable. I would find a carrier, even if they're a little bit more expensive, who has trucks going to Amazon every single day. There are some carriers who don't do a lot of business with Amazon, and they are the afterthought carriers. And that would be a good reason to focus on the carriers that have the deepest relationships with Amazon. Sometimes, by the way, they're not the local Canadian carriers. They may be US carriers, but they have pickup partners in Canada. And I imagine it probably wouldn't take too much work to find out who those carriers are that would be best aligned with your route. So for anybody, you guys can go ahead and leave a comment. How many of you have shipped via LTL? Go ahead and leave a comment if you ever shipped LTL, yes or no. LTL is a little more complex than UPS, because with UPS, you're just, putting stickers on boxes and you watch them disappear and you don't really know or care what happens after that. LTL, you have to stage the shipment, you have to coordinate it with one supplier, and as Tony points out, then the carrier has to schedule. Oh, Gracie's done LTL. Good job, Gracie. Hi, Terry. The point is, LTL is more complex and you have less control over it. But as you do it more and more often, I think you'll see that it becomes more and more predictable. When we've done LTL, and we've done significant LTL, both LTL and FTL actually, that we partner with the carriers who have significant relationships already with Amazon. That means they have big, volumes running with them. Gracie's doing it from her freight forwarder. So that's a good point, Gracie. I'm going to come back to that. It may sound a little scattered, and I hope it's making sense to you guys, but LTL is a good way to ship pallets of material at a very low cost per unit. The shipment itself may not be cheap, but when you look at how many units should be on that pallet, it should be relatively low cost. You, again, have a little less control than you do with UPS because they're just parcels and they have a sticker and it's simple and it's easy. So my point is, if you are going to use LTL, find the best carrier that has lots of Amazon deliveries. And one of the carriers, I don't remember, maybe it was Midwest Freight, that we were doing shipments from the US to Canada, and they were doing multiple truckloads a day to Amazon. And Amazon doesn't really like to, have 6 or 7 trucks show up at 3 a.m. So they will generally schedule those when they're the most crew is available, which is obviously during the day shift. But again, I want to just say, during the fourth quarter, Amazon, it's a nutty place. I actually, next week or the week after, I was going to take the Catalyst 88 group down to the Kent facility in Kent, Washington, outside of Seattle. This is one of the new Generation 8 facilities. All the robots running around. It's got a big receiving facility. And Amazon is like, they were willing to have us come down, but they're like, gosh, the fourth quarter is the worst. Can you guys just come back for your February meeting? We don't want to take the time in the fourth quarter to do a walk around and a tour. And I acknowledged that. I said, yeah, that's reasonable. They're just so nutty around the fourth quarter. So my summary again, let's see. So BJ, what would people recommend in shipping from US to Canada? So BJ, it's a good question. We were kind of talking about that with Tony earlier. The directions going from US to Canada, sometimes the origin is less important than the destination. So I think one of the stronger partners I used out of the US was Midwest Freight. But one little trick, here's a little hack for you guys. Hey Bjorn, how you doing, buddy? Wie geht es Ihnen? So I don't know where you are, Bjorn, but it's nice to see you. So one of the things that you guys might try is just go to freightquote.com. If you've never used them, there's other systems like this, but go to freightquote.com, set up an account, and ask them, say, hey, I need to ship to Amazon. I need to make sure they have a really good, a relationship with Amazon so they can get an appointment. And often they will not only find you a qualified carrier, but they'll give you different quotes from different carriers. And the substantial difference between these quotes is really amazing. And again, this is just one system for moving LTL freight. There's lots of others like that. And I know that the Empower E-commerce Cooperative will have a LTL recommended solution at the first of the year in 2019. That's on the roadmap. So number one thing, BJ, is when you're shipping from the US to Canada, it kind of depends on, where you're starting from. Like if Midwest can't pick up in California, they have to use a partner. That may increase the cost a little bit, but I know that they have really good deliveries up into the Toronto area of Canada. It also depends on where the stuff is going in Canada. So what you'll find in LTL shipping is there's something called freight lanes. So carriers have these freight lanes, and between cities, there may be some carrier who's running massive amounts of trucks to support their greater business, their existing customer base. That's who's always going to have the lowest price. That may not be who has the most power with Amazon. So imagine a carrier, let's say they're going from Southern California to Seattle, or even Southern California to Vancouver. And they're doing that because they are dropping off consumer electronics from California, and they're picking up fish on the way back from Vancouver. So they're running trucks all the time. They have great rates, and they can throw little extras on there when they have space. But if that guy tries to get a spot at Amazon and tries to get an appointment, they may not have any clout. They may not have any ability. In fact, I've had carriers who why do I have to call and get an appointment? I don't even know the Amazon, because they actually have to go into Amazon's online system, set up an account, and request the appointment online. They can't even just call like they can at most warehouses. So you want to make sure a carrier's got experience with dropping off at Amazon, and the more that they do Amazon deliveries, the better off you'll be. This is why UPS, who delivers multiple truckloads to every warehouse every day, full of those parcels, they get it. It's all computer connected, and they just understand what's happening there. All right, so we went down a little freight. If anybody else has any questions, let's get them in right now, and we'll make sure that we get those answered before I go. I want to get back I had a couple other news items. I did mention just in passing the Miracle Marketplace setup. I can tell you that more and more companies will start to use this system, and you'll be able to set up with things like Magento and other third-party places to plug into the Miracle solution, which will allow you then to sell on other people's e-commerce platforms, like in the future, Albertsons. And if you sell any kind of substantial volume, you're going to want to be, and I'm talking about for food and home related items, Albertsons would be a great marketplace. Places like Office Depot, Urban Outfitters, Best Buy, Carrefour, if you're familiar with Europe, so many places. There are lots of things. Let's see here. Tony has another comment here. So she says she's good, or Tony says he's good friends with the person who arranges Amazon appointments. Sometimes they make 3 to 4 different requests, but it's the same shipment, presumably. They try to avoid lunchtime, and they try to avoid any area that could be a delay because there's extra waiting charges. And this is just the nature of the beast, particularly in Q4. And these are those unwelcome lightning bolt surprises we don't want any part of. I agree with you. All right, so we've talked about marketplaces. Let me just see if there's any other little details here. And now's the time to get questions in, folks, before we close up for the day. By the way, if you guys aren't following the new cannabis and pot sales that are going to be opening in Canada, I think they opened actually last Wednesday. This is going to be a major type of shift in, brick and mortar, but also online commerce. And I don't know when the U.S. will get there on a federal level, but I assume in time it will happen. And there will be an absolute crush of opportunity in that market. I wish I understood it. To be honest, I don't understand a thing about it. If I did, I would be in that business, but I don't, so I'm on the sidelines looking in. One comment, I did have last week a pretty well informed chief investment officer of a company, and I think him and I and others generally agree that the cannabis stocks that are currently publicly traded are in a bubble. And I would definitely avoid those. If that's a free advice. I'm not a stock analyst, but they seem a little nutty. Have you guys seen this, that Amazon is now really pitching the third-party ad tools? So Amazon has taken kind of a love-hate relationship with third-party tools. So in some cases, they will talk to you about third-party tools that are available, almost like it's a tacit approval, not necessarily an endorsement, but certainly an approval. And then they'll send nastygrams to those same providers and say, hey, you're scraping our data, or hey, you can't get this data unless it's coming through the API. So it is a love-hate. If you have an app and you're trying to be part of the service provider network available through Seller Central, there are links now for developers to get your product. And I'll be happy to give the link, or at least the emails out. If you sell something for like a SaaS product and you want to get on Amazon, you can just email newinquire@amazon.com, and that's with an I, newinquire@amazon.com, or seller-app-request@amazon.com. And you can get your product or your service into Amazon to be part of that marketplace app store. Amazon really is trying to both embrace and then regulate this marketplace. So I expect a lot of changes coming, honestly. The expectation that we've had that Amazon is, I don't know, that Amazon is in it for our interests is a mistake. Amazon's in it for their own interests. They do want sellers to be successful, but that's not why they're doing it. They want their customers to get the lowest price, have the most selection, and have the best experiences. Sellers still are not thought of as customers for the most part. That seems very clear. And although they are making strides, and I salute the hundreds of people on the Amazon seller experience team, and we do meet with them from time to time. And when we talk to them about, reviews being wiped out, or arbitrary suspensions and product suspensions and fake safety complaints and things like that, they are trying to take some steps. They really are trying to take some steps to make our lives better. But it's not a systemic, and it's certainly not as pervasive in terms of mentality at Amazon as the idea that we have internally about being a customer at Amazon. If you're a customer, you know that they're obsessed with customers, and they want high customer satisfaction and experience. As a seller, they're like, we're not obsessed. We care about it, but we're not obsessed about it, certainly not yet. And we hope that changes. And the number one way that will change, the way it will change at Amazon is when there's competition. So I talked about this idea earlier, that if Amazon has competition, there will be an opening for us to see our prices at least stop going up, if not go down a little bit. And, any of you out there that really want to build a big business, if you just build it on Amazon, I think you reduce your inherent value of that company. And, from a valuation standpoint, if you try to exit and you're on one marketplace, I think the valuation is lower than it would be if it was across a broader set of marketplaces. I don't just think that, that's a fact. Now, those other marketplaces actually have to produce revenue. They can't just be, I listed on these 10 places my product. And if you don't have those products making any sales on those other marketplaces, what's the point? And that's why we talked about earlier, if you want to get the badges for Walmart, for eBay, or whatever the corresponding ranking methods are for these other marketplaces, you've got to follow the process. You got to follow the procedure. And, don't forget that, there's guys like me, and there's a whole team at Empowery, and, other folks around the ecosystem that are looking out for sellers and trying to, help sellers out. And when you find, some of these things, don't forget to share them, and don't forget to, double down on them if they make sense for your business. There are some products that will not work very well on eBay, and other products that have a potential to do better on eBay than on Amazon. The same thing is true on Walmart, and the same thing is true on other marketplaces like Rakuten, Newegg, and the list goes on and on and on. Hey, David. Hey, Vanessa. See you guys joining us here. So just know that third-party tools on Amazon, this is something that's continuing to evolve, Amazon is sharing that, which is a great opportunity if you have a SaaS product or some sort of service for sellers, but expect them to beat you down a little bit too. They are tough. By the way, I would love to get you guys' input. So last week, the United States informed the Postal Carriers Union or the treaty or whatever that the United States is going to withdraw. And what that means is they are specifically attacking the e-packets that are coming from China. Now, Wish is almost 95% reliant on e-packets coming from China. I don't know the volume of Amazon stuff that comes directly from China, but my guess is it's somewhere between 10 and 18% based on some of the information I have in front of me. Again, on eBay, I don't know the exact percentages, but I would say it's a double-digit number, more than 10%, less than 25% probably. What does this mean? And by the way, there's a bunch of Shopify guys, including close personal friends of mine, who rely on e-packets as their primary method of drop shipping, right? So they go to different integrators and they say, hey, I'm selling these 1,000 products. They throw them on Shopify and they all come via e-packet from China. Well, why do they do it? They do it because it is really cheap to ship it from China. Gracie points out that she says, I think it's great. I'm sure it will upset some Shopify sellers though. And, upset, who's going to be upset? I agree that they'll be upset, but it's absolutely an unfair advantage for somebody from China to be able to ship something cheaper from China than it is from Seattle to Portland, or Seattle to San Francisco. It's patently unfair. And actually, it's not cheaper in reality. The U.S. Postal Service is still paying all the same rates and all the same transportation costs. So we actually, as U.S. taxpayers, are subsidizing e-packets, which is not ideal. I think it's a good signal, and I think developed countries around the world should really take a hard look at e-packets and make sure, listen, can I use e-packets? Yes, I can use e-packets. I have connections in China with third-party fulfillment centers that are really strong in e-packets. And in fact, Empowery has a couple of those already lined up for people who are doing crowdfunding or people who are doing, high velocity fulfillment. Those fulfillment centers in Shenzhen and Guangzhou and various areas of China can really kick butt. But does that mean it's something that is sustainable? Does that mean something that, the taxpayers of the United States should have to subsidize? So I'm happy to see it go away, at least be renegotiated. And I should point out for those who are not aware, just because they are pulling that treaty, or we've pulled out of that treaty, it takes at least 1 year to pull out of the treaty. So nothing's going to happen instantly. We can't change or refuse to start, deliver e-packets for this Q4, for example. So nothing functionally is going to change for at least 1 year, and it's likely that the beginning of 2020 is when you'll see a change happen. Now, it's possible, although it seems unlikely, that there will be some sort of negotiation that happens that will keep the United States in the treaty long-term at some new kind of rates. But I think that the point of that, taking that postage and taking the e-packet advantage away is good for U.S. and developed country sellers. So if you're in the UK, you're in Canada, you're in Australia, and you're having to pay higher rates to move your product, let's just have it fair. That's the point. What if it was just fair? And that really is what I would like to see happen. So I do want to make sure that we understand that postal rate would be a win for sellers in general. That is something for sure. So if you guys have any, Gracie agrees with me, and I know that some people who relied on kind of the AliExpress integration to their Shopify site, that's not really a real business anyway. If you buy a $40 plugin and you list 10,000 products and you sell, 5 to 500 a day, you're still just drop shipping from somebody else. That's still not a real business. It may turn over some cash flow. It may get you some customers on your list. I'm fine with that. I even like that, frankly. But I don't want you to think that that's a real business. It's a churn kind of thing. And although it can be made into something, you can leverage that into something real and substantial and meaningful long-term. It's certainly not my number one choice for a business model. So any final questions? I'm going to give you guys a last chance to ask questions. We're going to wrap it up in the next few minutes. And you're welcome to talk about the postal treaty or about marketplaces. Any questions, I'm open for them right now. I'm just scrolling through my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything. By the way, if you haven't been keeping track of Amazon's new 4-star stores, they are bringing in products with at least 4-star ratings or higher, and they're going to put those in their physical stores. That is a pretty major announcement. You know, Amazon keeps bridging this brick and mortar thing. They even talked about releasing as many as 3,000 Amazon Go stores, which are the coolest little stores ever. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been to the Amazon Go here in Seattle, the first one, right next to the Day One building, which is also right next to the Spheres of Amazon, if you're familiar with those. And it is the coolest thing. You open your app, you scan your QR code, you walk in. And by the way, when I walked in, I scanned in my son, my daughter, and a friend, and we all picked up our stuff and we walked out, and we kind of looked around like, is anybody going to tackle us? We kind of walked down slow, but there's nobody there. There's no cashier there. And we walked out, and I'm still waiting for the invoice to come in just so if anybody does tackle me, I can turn around the invoice and say, no, I paid, really. But sure enough, nobody tackled us. The invoice came, and it literally, not only did it pick up the things on our invoice from all 4 of us, myself, my son, my daughter, my friend, we all picked up independently in different places in the store. A couple of us had picked up something and then put it back as well, and those were not on the bill. So it is a substantial experience, a really cool thing, highly convenient. And by the way, a lot of fresh food in there. They're making stuff. So for lunch place, picking up, kind of fresh, good food and fairly inexpensive, very, very good. Now I'm doing an Amazon Go commercial. Let's get them as a sponsor here. But the point is, if they roll out 3,000 Amazon Go stores, that is a substantial run in the footprint. And you'll see guys like 7-Eleven crying the blues because Amazon is definitely going to mop them up. That's for sure. Those Go stores, if you get the chance, I think there's one in Chicago now. There may be one in the Bay Area, a couple in Seattle. Definitely take a look. And if you're ever in Seattle, just download the Go app, go by the Go store. You'll love it. It's a really great experience. So I see no other questions. And so I've got another thing I got to get to. So I'm going to wave goodbye to you guys. Thank you all for joining. I do appreciate the interest. I hope that you will take a minute, go subscribe to the awesomers.com podcast. By the way, it's okay to leave a 5-star review. And this is one of those areas that iTunes is not as punitive as Amazon. I can ask you for a 5-star review. By the way, if you want to leave a 1-star review, that's okay too. I really do want to know how we're doing. And if we suck, we should be told to our face we suck. So it's okay to leave a bad review too. But if we're earning the 5-star, let's go ahead and put those down. And subscriptions to the awesomers.com podcast will help. Barry, David, everybody, hello. And we're wrapping up for today. We'll see you later. I hope this is helpful. And as always, I love entrepreneurs. I love awesomers. Thank you all for everything you do. Oh, Chris, hang on. Let's see. I see something in the chat window. I just don't know where the chat window is. Okay, so Chris asked one final question. He got it in before the buzzer. He says, will the cost go up for ePacket, or will there be no ePacket unless they renegotiate? And so first of all, thank you for the question, Chris. Thanks, Maria. See you all later on the other side. So I don't know what's going to happen, to be clear. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think the cost will go up for ePacket. It will not go away, but I think the cost will come into a more economically reasonable number. And one of the things that people don't fully realize is when an ePacket is undeliverable, it's between 50 and 75 cents for that to go back to China. So the UPS or USPS is losing about $1 per ePacket shipment as it is right now. And so my expectation is the cost will go up and be more aligned with economic reality. But what do I know? I'm just a guy on the computer. Maria, thank you. Chris, thank you. Everybody else who's been in and around and participating, thank you all. Really do appreciate it. And we're out for right now. Thanks again, everybody.
Catalyst 88 was developed to help entrepreneurs achieve their short and long-term goals in e-commerce markets by utilizing the power of shared entrepreneurial wisdom. Entrepreneurship is nothing if not lessons to be learned. Learn from others. Learn from us. I guarantee that we will learn from you. Visit catalyst88.com because your success is our success. Hey, giddy up.
Hey, Amazon Marketplace professionals, congratulations on your success to date. Your creativity, strategic vision, problem solving, and discipline have allowed you to build your own e-commerce business. Wouldn't it be great if you had more time to focus on the things that truly drive the sales and growth of your company? Instead of getting lost in a dozen different services and countless spreadsheets, what if there was one system that connected to your Amazon account and automatically gave you the information that you needed to make great decisions and really impact your business? Parsimony ERP can do that. Parsimony is the business operating system for your marketplace business. With Parsimony, you get true double-entry bookkeeping, easy financial statements, full customer service tools, and item-by-item profitability, along with project and task management, and more features are being added all the time. Learn more at parsimony.com. That's Parsimony, PARSIMONY.com. Parsimony.com. We've got that.
Okay, that wraps it up, everybody. That was part 2 of our Back Talk Live series. And this was, again, to take your live questions and give you a chance to have a voice so that it's not just a one-way. I'm not just talking to you. You can talk back. Or, as I like to say, back talk. Thinking of the behavioral challenges I face with people around me. How dare them talk back to me? Just kidding. Anyway, this is also been episode number 105 in the Awesomers.com podcast series. And now is a good time, by the way, if you haven't already, to go to iTunes or Spotify or wherever your favorite, Google Play, and click subscribe. If you click subscribe, that helps us get ranking. If you don't click subscribe, that doesn't help at all. And so helping is better than not helping, just in case you were wondering the math on that. So if you want to find today's show notes in detail, just go to awesomers.com/105, because this was indeed episode 105. Thanks, everybody. Well, we've done it again, everybody. We have another episode of the Awesomers podcast ready for the world. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed our program today. Now's a good time to take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. Heck, you could even leave a review if you wanted. Awesomers around you will appreciate your help. It's only with your participation and sharing that we'll be able to achieve our goals. Our success is literally in your hands. Thank you again for joining us. We are at your service. Find out more about me, Steve Simonson, our guest, team, and all the other Awesomers involved at awesomers.com. Thank you again.